Most of you will have your speakers positioned vertically. Some of you, like me, will need to place them horizontally to get the best sound. But should you position your tweeters on the inside or on the outside? Hi, I'm Thorne. It's good to see you. Firstly, why would you need to position your speakers horizontally? Most of them aren't designed for that format. This is a good point. Troll away with that in the comments. Ideally, you want your speakers to be at a height where the center point between the tweeter and the woofer on a two-way, or the tweeter and the mid-driver on a three-way speaker is at ear level when you're mixing. If you have a tall desk like mine, you may need to lay your speakers horizontally to facilitate this optimal positioning. The ACOUSTICS stands that I use help raise the speakers a little to get them more in line with my ears. This slight elevation over the shorter ISO pucks also helps to decrease muddy low-mid desk reflections and improve the sound even further. In part one of this series, about the stereo subwoofers and Trinnov, I identified that my room has a longitudinal node right down the middle of the room, causing a null at 100 Hz. After much trial and error, I deduced the wider I had the stereo subwoofers, the worse the null became. So the optimal location for my subwoofer, contrary to popular opinion and acoustic theory, was to put it in the middle of the room. The positioning of the A23s also corroborated this issue. I had previously tried tweeters outside, but for whatever reason the imaging was all wrong and the phantom center collapsed. I don't know why this was, but I settled initially on tweeters inside. Now, during this recent rabbit holing of placement, testing, measuring and experimenting and repeating, I tried the speakers in every possible position. Tweeters inside, tweeters outside, and the speakers vertically, but that caused them to be too high. I even tried the speakers upside down. Don't ask. I noticed that every time I moved the speakers closer together towards the screen, the 100 Hz null improved, and this gave me an opportunity. I could improve the null, create a bigger equilateral triangle of 125 centimeters, and sit in the recommended listening range of the speakers, which for the PSI A23s is between 1.2 and 3.5 meters. With the additional room treatment mentioned in episode 2 and Trinnov delivering its genius, the room has never sounded or measured better. The phantom center is now stronger than before, the stereo imaging is wider, and everything sounds more cohesive. With the PSI sorted, obviously, I had to check the Amphions. The keen-eyed amongst you will spot that the Amphions are much higher than ear level, but I have them angled down, pointing at my ears using the smaller ISO acoustic 155 frames. Now, before you rip into me about having speakers on top of speakers, I did actually try the Amphions vertically, just either side of the screen, and they sounded terrible. Even with arc on, I think the proximity to the desk increased the desk reflections, so they were too severe for arc to fix. And there's just something about the space up here in that room where these speakers sound really good. Also, as we've ascertained, putting the Amphions inside would have meant the PSIs would be further apart, which was making the 100 null worse, so that also wasn't an option for me. So outside the tweeters went, and again, the 100 Hz null measures its lowest, the phantom center is solid, and the stereo imaging widens. It also makes sense to have the bass in the middle, as it's largely a mono instrument anyway, and the sparkly details in the top end you probably want out towards the sides anyway. Now, for those of you to whom this is obvious, comment away, but as with all things in audio, sometimes you've just got to figure this stuff out for yourself. Anyway, I'm glad I went down yet another rabbit hole and left no stone unturned in my quest to optimize what I used to think was a pretty shocking room. Now I have one of the best sounding rooms I've worked in, so my encouragement for you would be to do exactly the same. Try everything you can to optimize your room. Speaker placement, positioning, room correction we've talked about. So tweeters inside or outside, I've given you my reasonings. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I've been Thorne. It's been emotional.